Spotlight on the big news of the day. The government is all set to convert Vodafone Idea's outstanding spectrum dues into equity shares worth 36,950 crore rupees. This will mean that the government owns 49% of the company. To talk more about this development, we have with us Sanjay Kapoor, former CEO of Bharti Airtel, and Balaji Subramaniam, Vice President of IIFL Securities. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining in. Mr. Kapoor, I'll start with you. I guess the second lifeline, right? And a lot of people would say they saw it coming because the AGR relief was struck down by the court. I mean, it was just not going through. Now, the question is, I mean, from a government's perspective, they will really want to see this cash work. The previous installment that came in February 23 was the first infusion or the first conversion. That was about 16,000 crores. The government is already sitting on a loss on that investment. And now there is this one. What are the chances of success now that this overhang, at least the dues overhang, is out of the way for now?
So good morning to you and the viewers. Yes, of course, in the short run, if you see, it's clearly an indication both from the government and VIL that these efforts are towards business continuity and keeping it a going concern. That's what is exactly happening, and that is good for the customers in the market as well. But let me unfold and peel the onion a bit because there are multiple stakeholders in what has happened. First, let me stick to VIL. VIL has taken care of its spectrum dues till FY27, and this will allow them to borrow money from the market and pump it back into capex, which allows them to stay competitive in the market. That's immediate gain that they have. The issue is that the problem doesn't get completely solved here because in March of 26, they'll be due for their AGR dues, and their current EBITDAs do not allow them to cater to that fully, although there'll be some growth in the ARPU, etc. But for now, the money is available with them on their cash flows are not good enough to take care of their capex requirements in the immediate future. So, so they're not completely out of the woods. But from a business continuity perspective, a good sign in the short run. Now let's come to Indus Towers. Indus Towers, the second stakeholder in this, which I'm sure was getting discounted because of the uncertainty around Voda phone. And I think with this, probably the discounting might get reduced a wee bit at one end. But if they pump in more capex into their business, then Indus Tower gains definitely because they'll get better tenancies and they will also get newer towers with that capex. And the last stakeholder is Bharti Airtel and Jio. They are stakeholders to this as well. Contrary to many beliefs, my belief is that a stronger VIL is better for both those companies than a weaker VIL. For a simple reason that a weaker VIL will resort to pricing and discounting, whereas a stronger VIL will not move towards discounting. They will compete more on improving their network and giving a better experience. Though, let's get down to the global scenario. In every single market of the world now, and I'm observing market after market, the third operator and the fourth operator is finding it very tough to survive for a simple reason that the capital cycles have shortened, and it is becoming very difficult for the third operator and fourth operator to be pumping in the same amount of capital as the first and the second operator. So markets are by and large moving towards duopolies in many parts of the world, on a pragmatic basis, on a profitability basis. And therefore, being a distant third operator will always keep that question mark to say how long, is this enough? Will there be another downfall? Will there be another uncertainty? So they're not completely out of the woods, but a welcome move.
That's an interesting observation, sir, on global markets as well, that globally the business is moving towards duopolies. But just to go back to that point that, okay, this is, a reprieve at least, it's a lifeline, but it's just the first step. In terms of additional funding that VI will have to secure, debt funding, I don't know if there'll be equity funding. That's also a question, would you expect the promoters to also look at further equity infusion? They did one round last year. How much more money does VI need? They're losing subscribers. They have this AGR, due coming up in March, like you're saying. To what extent would they need additional funding, whether it's equity or debt?
Well, for the right reason, this is one industry which guzzles up a lot of capital. And with the capital cycles becoming shorter and the longevity of the technology reducing, capital is never going to go away. We are still pumping in money in 5G as VIL is catching up. The 6G will be around the corner before we realize that we've not even got the returns for 5G. AI is something everybody wants to invest behind, stay relevant to the market. So I guess the amount of money that they require right now, their cash flows are not going to be generating that much money to be pumped and take care of their capex. So they'll need to borrow money. Will the promoters put in money? I have my doubts because they are, I think, reconciled now to the fact that they are happy to dilute, right? And they've gone below 26% now. And I don't think as long as they're running the company, if it was to go down a wee bit further, I think they wouldn't mind that. But pumping in more money doesn't seem to be what I anticipate. I think they'll borrow money, and this might give them a little bit of headroom to go to the market and borrow some money.
Do you see them selling out? Is that a option at all? I know it's a completely wild question to even ask, but for the reasons that you mentioned, that you don't see them adding more money and adding more equity. Competition Commission of India concerns aside, that's a separate matter, but could we actually look at only two-horse race with this entity coming into either fold, Airtel or Jio?
Tough one according to me, because world over, the third and the fourth operators, given a choice, would find somebody at the right price and walk away. But that is not happening because the investors are cautious that the third and the fourth operator, especially when they are distant third and fourth operator, are not easy to revive. On what basis? Because the top two operators are not going to relent at all. They're fully capitalized. They can borrow as much from the market. They can get more equity into the business. So they're not going to relent any space to the laggards anymore. So I think given that scenario, where will an investor come who will invest in the third and the fourth operator?
Okay, all right, got that. So, well, let's get in Mr. Balaji as well into the conversation. Hi, Balaji, good morning. Thanks a lot for joining in. From an investor perspective, what do? There was that hope, right? Post the rights issue, there's something going to happen. They'll get that 11 rupees. They'll make big gains out there. Their fingers have got burned. What do they do right now? Would you advise investors to hang on? There is a possibility that the Vodafone idea, shareholders make money, or do you think that it's a sell and rise?
Morning. Thanks for having me on the show. So my view is that with the last weekend's development, the government is firmly behind the telco, and they are signaling that they would like to have a 3+1 market structure. So I think that Vodafone should continue as a going concern. They still have cash flow problems even after this equity conversion by the government, because this only takes care of spectrum dues for the next 2 odd years. They have the AGR dues, still which they have to pay, which is around 16,500 crores, starting from 31st March of 2026. So they do have their cash flow constraints. So my sense is that I wouldn't rule out further equity conversion by the government, maybe 18 to 24 months down the line. So that would mean that even though Vodafone will continue as the third player, from an existing or a new shareholder standpoint, there is still meaningful dilution risk. So as you said, FPO happened, and one of the expectations was that there will be some relief on the AGR burden, but unfortunately the Supreme Court turned it down, and that is one part of the recovery plan that has not really worked out the way which Vodafone Idea and its stakeholders would have wanted to. So that remains an overhang.
So Balaji, you say that it can be good for customers because you'll have the other player that will function, but for a shareholder, maybe not.
Yeah, so I would believe that for a customer, yes. From government receipts also, yes, the firm will continue. Especially for Indus, it's a positive because there is visibility on improved cash flows of Vodafone Idea and business continuity as well. I think it is positive for Indus. I would probably prefer to play this development by buying Indus rather than Vodafone Idea itself. Of course, the stock, Vodafone Idea stock might, move up as it has moved up today based on these positive developments. But, fundamentally, as Sanjay was saying, the company is still not out of woods.
Your target price on Indus, Balaji? Today it's 357 CMP.
My target price is around 445. So that is, factoring in a successful debt raise completion by Vodafone Idea and, the CapEx program of 55,000 crores over FY25 to FY27 going as planned.
Okay, 55,000 crores of capex and huge debt raise ahead. Can they pull it off? Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining in and weighing in on big developments in the telecom space. Interesting. I don't know, to that point that they made, that maybe Balaji said that maybe there will be another round of this conversion from the government, but there will be a moral hazard to that as well, right? Would the government want this entity to become a PSU? Would it want to be holding on to a telecom company which is loss-making? So I don't know. Political, moral.
Think BSNL, Surabhi.
Which is what I'm saying. So, do you really want to go back to the past?